Hello. Welcome to the Empowered Artist Collective podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Apple, a multi-hyphenate actor, educator, acting coach, writer, dog mom, and founder of this vibrant community that champions artists as they carve out their own unique paths in this wild industry. Whether you're just starting out, in the thick of it, or seeking a bit of artistic fuel to expand your toolbox, you're in the right place. In this space, we'll have honest conversations, share actionable strategies, tips, and resources, and delve into the messy yet beautiful journey of living a sustainable, creative life. We unmask the reality of life as an artist, from navigating career highs and lows to nurturing your full human well-being. I chat with women and non-binary guests who share their personal stories, helpful learnings, and hearts to help you unlock your artistic potential, expand your knowledge, and show up fully and fearlessly in your artistry and daily life. Before we dive into this week's conversation, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. If today's chat resonates with you, please leave us a review. It helps us reach even more incredible artists just like you. And hey, feel free to spread the love. Share this podcast with a friend or post it on your socials, making sure to tag at Empowered Artist Collective and at @JenniferApple_ so we can chat with you there. All right, grab a cup of something cozy, settle in, and let's get to it. What does it take to move a play from the cloud of an idea onto the page? In this episode of our Playwright Mini-Series, I sit down with one of the most produced playwrights, Lauren Gunderson, to unpack the alchemy of writing stories that matter. Lauren shares how she begins every piece with clarity around the ending, staying obsessed with the story long enough to see it through, then reverse engineers her way through plot, character desire, and emotional arc. We explore her love for lean casts, the joy of adapting classics, her recent deep dive into musicals, and how collaboration fuels her creativity. Lauren offers tools such as balancing personal artistic fulfillment with the needs of theaters and audiences, utilizing collaboration as a creative accelerator, and trusting that a bad draft is merely a bridge to something better. No matter the style of writing, this episode is a reminder that good doesn't come before done, and that generosity, curiosity, and resilience are what carry a writer through. Enjoy. Lauren Gunderson is in the space. Hello.
Hi, what a dream to be here.
For anybody who's not tuning into the YouTube, they should. Just because, again, the second Lauren popped into the screen, it's just like vibrancy, a painted wall, books, color, just I'm obsessed. So it's worth checking that out just for the visual, honestly. Well, for anybody who does not know you, who are you today?
Hi, changes minute to minute. I am a playwright, and I have no idea how to answer that question today, honestly. I don't know.
I'll take it. The nebulousness, it's cool. I feel like that's part of why I ask it, because it's like sometimes we feel really strongly about things, and sometimes it's just like we're floating, or the things feel like they are, but maybe they're not. I mean, it's just a little bit of a grounding moment, I think, for everyone here.
I am like the least grounded person, so I am tethered like a balloon to whatever idea I just had or whatever conversation I just had. So I just got off of a really fun like a outline session of a new musical. So I am there in my mind and I am halfway somewhere else because I have other, you know what I mean? I'm always I feel like I'm not a grounded person. I'm like a cloud hopping person.
I mean, I don't think that a cloud isn't grounded. A cloud is more like, there's a cloud still knows it's a cloud.
That's true.
Like it still has its own.
Having a great time. It's on the move.
Exactly. It's kind of seeing things. It's a little bit more nebulous. Maybe it changes shape. I learned so much about clouds.
Look at this metaphor. This metaphor is great.
You're welcome. It's funny because if I think about my education when I was in elementary school, that probably was, I learned more about clouds than I did about actual science. I don't know any of the details, but
clouds. I had a poster of like all the cloud types on my wall, and I was obsessed.
The nimbus, right? Was that a cloud?
Cumulonimbus. We've got stratus. We've got cirrostratus.
Right. Like wild that was the thing that so many of us continue to know. And could I tell you what the weather actually is? No. But
is that useful? Absolutely not.
1,000%. Well, with that, we don't need to be grounded in this moment. We can be wherever we are. I am curious, though, as you mentioned, this outline for this new musical. I'm curious to just kind of dive right into your writing land.
Yeah.
You have the musical happening. You have these brilliant, brilliant plays that are being produced more than most human beings everywhere at this point. How did you come to this? What was the beginnings, and how are we now?
I mean, I've been writing for a long time. I luckily knew super early on that like theater was my home.
Mm-hmm.
And for a while that was as a young actor, which I think so many of us start on that end of
Yeah.
things, sort of not realizing there are other things to do besides show up, take the script and start saying the words. And I realized, after a couple of years of I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, which at then was not the vibrant theater scene it is now, but not that. There was such great innovation in a lot of spaces in the theater. And so I was, a part of that and got to see people really strive and achieve and invent some cool
Yeah.
things. And so, yeah, but it was always as an actor first, and the feel of the language and the real kind of like animal instinct when you're on stage and clicking into that insta energy that was just had such gravity on me and still does. But quickly that turned into kind of like, okay, this is so powerful, this being in this space and the eyes on me and the eyes on my fellow actors and the resuscitation and a revival of words from hundreds of years ago and the new words and all of that was just so powerful. Like, what other stories are we not telling? What are the things that we're missing that are right there? And so certainly at that time when I was looking around and seeing really Lynn Nottage's work starting to sort of become more and more Paula Vogel, Sarah Rule, I was blown away by Carol Churchill and of course Lorraine Hansberry and this world of women that were starting to become more forefronted, but not enough. And so I sort of found the opening to say, well, there's so many stories untold and so many of them are women's. So that's where I'm going. And part of it is honestly writing for myself, the brazenness of going, at that moment thinking, I want more to do than Ophelia and Annie and Juliet. Yeah. Like, let's scout. Come on. There's more. There's more there. So that gave birth to a ton of plays and continues to be sort of the source of so much of what I do. And that changed into, I was one of those like eye-rolly musical people where I was like, musical, why are they even singing? And now half of what I do is musicals and I love it.
Yeah. I mean, we were talking about this beforehand, but I give so much of your material to my clients, certainly for like my monologue sourcing work. And it's just so nuanced and meaty and thought provoking. And it always wrestles with something. There always feels like an energy behind it, and there's real humanity layered into every single one of your characters and your worlds. I mean, I'm clearly a fan. That's why you're here.
Thank you.
I'm curious how you take your ideas, and you talk about structure all the time on your podcast, but how do you take your ideas and how do you put them into practice? I know for so many folks who listen, the starting is the hardest part, or even frankly, the finishing, if you have started, or the nebulous worlds of the edits. Like, how do you make it happen for yourself?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is having a plan. It is not an accident where stories go. And so asking yourself early and often, what's the point? Where are we going? What does this character want? What do they have to learn to get that thing? Do they get it? Do they, all of this stuff is, frankly, how I talk about this is a lot about starting at the ending and going, as hard as it is to start, much less to end, you got to know where you're going. Otherwise, you are just wandering. And you can find some great stuff while you're wandering. Take that metaphor wherever you want. Yes, you will find surprise waterfalls and beautiful flowers, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But the journey of a play is not the journey of a hike. And you need to know where you're going because everything in that play needs to earn that ending. And you just can't do that accidentally. So you have to sort of know. That means that there is a secret to writing plays, and it is make some damn decisions. It is a hard thing to do for some of us, but that's the secret. You have to make decisions, and you have to know that you can unmake them, but you have to have the brazenness and the strength to say, yes, they're going to end up together, these two lovers. No, they're not going to end up together. Yes, he's going to get what he wants. Yes, she's going to get the girl, whatever. You have to be able to say, I know what this is going to happen, earn that, build towards that. The main thing is, it's that funny thing of going, the experience of writing a play and the experience of watching a play are the opposites. So we don't get to be surprised, but like, oh, he did? Oh my gosh. Like, no, you made it, girl. You have to write it.
I wrote that. It came out of my brain. Yep.
Yes. I hate to tell you, but you are in charge of this. So knowing that, and then also knowing that you can make anything a great story. That isn't like you have to find the special ingredient. You can make anything good as long as it finds emotional expansiveness and it finds truth and it is funny if you want it to be funny and not if you don't want it to be, it's in the doing and it's in the craft of the doing that will make it excellent and worthy and all those things. So there's a lot of it that is just, you got to make it for it to be good and good to get to great. You don't have to jump from nothing to great. And you can't, honestly. So just make the thing to make the better thing, to make the better and better thing. So, yeah.
This is why I'm doing this series because, talking to Amy in the first one, she's such an intuitive writer where she's like, let me just put these writers in a room and see what happens, where you're like, I must have the ending. And I think that this is why it's brilliant to showcase artists in what they do with this one label that we put them all under, because it really is just like, there's no one right way of doing. I'm just really excited that we're having this conversation because it is showing process in all sorts of ways for access points for people. And so when you are in the throes of, okay, I'm setting out to do this story and now I have to find my ending. What are you doing? Are you sitting in a room in the quiet of your home in this gorgeous background being like, let me just sit here and be structured? Are you going for a walk and jotting down notes and then it comes to you and then it's like, what is your process with that?
A lot of it is super internal for a long time. So I will be writing a play for months, sometimes years, and it is just clicking sort of away. The actual writing is usually very fast for me once I actually have the enough of the answers and enough of those decisions made to say, I can, there's a lot here that I can write it. So sometimes it's 2 weeks between act 1, scene 1, and then power through for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then I have a draft that is not good. Some of it is, but there's an ending and I know where I'm going. And then that's when I have colleagues that I share it with and send it to and start these conversations about, okay, my second step, between the nothing and the script, there's a lot of, I just get obsessed with it. I'm always thinking about it. Now that I work primarily on Google Docs, I have it on my phone. So I'll be adjusting the play at a red light. It's terrible. That's not how you should drive. But I'm like, line, try to find the scene on the phone before the light turns green and type a little note. So it's sort of, it takes over my brain, which I sort of love the feeling and hate the feeling because it is, I do feel obsessed in a bad way, but also obsessed in a good way. But I don't know any other way to do this passionate art form than to be a bit too much about it. Do that. But it is a continual iteration. And because it is an art form that does not want to live on the page, it has to live up in space and in breath and bodies. The sooner I can get it into any version of a reading is best. So I will do that work. But as soon as I know the end, I will start planning a reading at my house. Just friends. I'm like, the deadline is helpful. Usually you can't get, 10 people together for a week or so. So I have a little bit of a deadline to keep futzing with it until that day. And then it's just the chill reading of friends and colleagues that I trust at my house. I feed them usually vegetarian chili. It's now my new play chili.
Amazing.
It's not very fancy or anything. It's just you feed a lot of people with that. And give them, beverages of various sorts. And we just read it. And I learned so much instantly. And the play, it goes from good to greater in that one reading quicker than any other step. So it's this back and forth between by myself alone and in public and collaboration, by myself in collaboration, by myself in collaboration, which is the story of theater in general. So, I think about, I usually write very tight scripts, meaning they are, not a lot of extraneous people, as minimal actors as possible, because I just want to spend the most time with my characters, and the more characters, the less time. So a lot of I love a 2-hander. 3, 4 is my sort of sweet spot. 6 even feels like, woof, that's a lot of people on stage. So I have a sort of intimacy that's built into a lot of my work, which requires people I trust to develop it. So that means I kind of tend to use a lot of the same folks. And then it's just a matter of hearing it and following that instinct of not just like what's funny and what's not, but what's meaningful, what feels honest, what feels just poetic enough to sort of lift it above the normal human life, but also doesn't keep it too floaty away. So
thank you for sharing all of that. And it feels, even the way you talk about it, it feels like a energized train. I think so much of my own personal association with my writing process, of which I have a lot of feelings about it, but like with that, it's just like, it doesn't feel, it feels more like, okay, we sit and we are here, versus like, no, this train is moving. The train, I'm on the train has been happening. It's happening at all points of my life, even sitting at a red light. And I'm trusting myself enough to know when I finally sit and do the thing, it's not like I'm forcing it. It's living and breathing through me in a way that feels a little less efforted, even though it clearly took a lot of quote unquote effort to get to that point of actually knowing exactly what you were going to be releasing.
Yeah, exactly. And honestly, it feels like I fall in love with a story, but like a crazy girlfriend kind of love. I'm not supposed to say the word crazy, but the idea of like, I'm obsessive. I think about it all the time. I just want to hang out with it. Can't get enough. As soon as I leave it, I want to go back. Like it's just, this is, I feel it. I see it. I get it. I love it.
Which is amazing though, because then you want to spend your time with it. You know, obviously maybe there's the level of like, you know, you can gauge what unhinged is, but that's a totally subjective, you know, barometer. And for yourself,
unhinged about this. I think that is a good life is having some things that you get unhinged about. And me, it's like every day there's another, like, what do I get to be super passionate about today? And it is, I also feel like there's a sense of, there's a lot of dread around writing for a lot of people. And I do get that and respect it. I also think, why? You get to make shit up. This is great. This is what fun. And there's hard parts to it and things, but it's only sort of as hard as you believe it is. Otherwise, like you're making things that it's like drawing with crayons as well as like that's also creative and you're making something out of nothing. So like you have fun with that. You can have fun with this.
1,000%.
So I try to meet it in that space of how much fun I get to have once this thing is made. Like once the scene is written, once the play is written, then I get all these great people in a room and we laugh together and we feel together and we talk about all the things that theater lets us talk about and brings people together, and like, that's great. So I got to write this so I can get that to that, you know?
Yes. Hi, actor friends. Talking to you. If finding the perfect monologue has you feeling stuck, I've got just the thing. I've put together a free monologue selection toolkit just for you. It's packed with resources, free and paid options, plus tips for choosing, editing, and customizing pieces to showcase you. Head over to jenniferapple.net/freebie and stop avoiding the auditions that ask for a monologue or waiting for the perfect piece to simply fall into your lap. Dive into this free toolkit that I set up just for you that'll set you up to feel agency over your process and artistry. That's jenniferapple.net/freebie and get started on finding your next go-to monologue. Well, how do you get your ideas? Where do they come from? Where do you find your inspiration? Oh, that's like a weird, dumb question, but but I do think that that's like worth naming. Like, does it just come to you? Is it an idea? Is it something that you visually see? Does it change depending? Like, obviously there are, you know, when you're commissioned to do something, and I would love to touch on that also, or, you know, adapting something that's already been created is a different muscle. But for yourself and your own journey, where do they come from?
I mean, it's less where you find them and it's more what you do with them. So you can get inspired by anything, anything. And so I have an instinct now that can sort of suss out which of these cool things in history or the news or some poem I read or a painting I saw that feels just like some cool thing that I want to tell someone at a cocktail party. Did you know that? Versus some cool thing that I want to tell someone at a cocktail party that has a character worthy and of complexity that the theater deserves and has a journey to go on and has something to lose and has something to learn. And And then, yes, I fast forward always all the way to the end and sort of imagine what it looks like, sort of what it feels like, less what it sounds like. Like I don't have a line in mind or I'm not writing a monologue, but I do see, is this where they're holding hands, like looking at each other and about to kiss? That's a different ending than, one is weeping and one is stoic and one walks away leaving the other person. That's a different ending. Okay. Yeah. We sort of know what those are. Like I can start to write lines in my brain for that, but I let the visual do it because I think if you've done the work of a great play, at the end, you don't need to say much to accomplish the things. So I sort of let myself think that there is a play that I just wrote that's a two-hander that I realize has to end with them together, but what kind of together? And is it a hug? No. Is it a kiss? Mm-mm. And so in my mind, it was, and it still is, we're going to be doing it next year, but we just workshopped it, but it's like they're on the floor, like they're lying on the floor together in like the sweetest, silliest, in the way that like two little kids lie on the grass and are just like looking at cloud shapes. There's our clouds again, or
there
birds or something. But like that's what a weird, beautiful, sweet, intimate thing that tells me that like it's not a sexual thing. It's not an angsty thing. It's like relaxation, but also sort of giddy. Cool. I now know how to get to that. If that's where we're going, then the rest of the play has to not let them ever have that. So that helps me go, okay, I can take the original idea, this image of the ending, and connect those two and put them through hell in between those two, as theater wants to do to its main characters. So I do allow that stuff to guide me. And even in the biggest plays of mine, like I and You has a big twist ending. I knew that ending. I was writing towards that the whole time. I didn't know exactly how I was going to pull it off in an elegant way. But I knew that when those revelations that would amount to the twist would be. Book of Will is similar. Like I knew we were going to be at Anne Shakespeare's house and with that book in hand and sort of what that theatrical moment would be. So and then once you have what you want to write about, some questions about this character, how far you can push them. That's the main thing. You cannot be nice to your characters. So you have to have a character that has a lot of wants, has a lot of needs, has a lot of fears, has a lot of secrets. And you're going to push every one of those fear buttons and pull out every one of those secrets and show it to them and make them face it. And if your character can withstand that, then that's one worthy of writing. But it can't be like, isn't this a cool thing that happened to someone in history? Not a play, not even a very interesting story. So you have to have all of this other extra humanity, and it's got to be somebody that can wrestle. And then once you have that element, then you can start writing towards it.
You mentioned the gut about it, though, that you now have this thing that's able to suss it out. What exactly is that for you?
It's knowing the complexity that you have to sustain a story. Like a lot of writers, I feel like, have a great idea and about 30 pages worth of a play in their mind, and they start writing. And then you hit that 30 pages and you say, I don't know what happens next. And you're right. You don't, because you don't know. You should. This is where the decision making comes in. Make a damn decision. I don't know what happens next. All right, but something can if you say it should. So maybe say that and do that. Have someone enter. Have them reveal a secret, like have, if the desire isn't big enough to sustain your character past 30 pages, give them a different desire, or have someone take away the thing they want. Like you got to be mean to these characters. You got to have them struggle. So I have to have that sense of like, is this complex enough? Not complicated. We don't want it to be overwrought and you don't want it to be confusing, but you want it to be complex. There's other things going on. And part of it also is, I find a lot of ways to sort of say the same thing, but it's less about plot complications. I have to win the prize to get the info to do like, who cares? It's that internal complexity. What are they fighting internally? And all great characters are not just fighting an external battle. They're very much fighting 1 to a million internal battles. So what is going on with a secret they're keeping from themselves, much less from the other characters in the play? So that, and when I feel like I'm ready to write, it's when I feel like there's so much going on, and within and without these characters, that they sort of burst forth with a lot of, that's when the narrative starts to go. The other thing about the gut instinct is it funny? Like what does it say beyond, the specifics of the character? Like, are we talking about love? Are we talking about country? Are we talking about family, motherhood, sisterhood, whatever? What's the kind of larger philosophical or spiritual conversation you want to have? Because even asking yourself that starts to imbue and infuse big ideas into the specifics of your characters. Because I don't think theater is a place to just talk about what it's talking about. It's always talking about 7 other things. And just sort of opening up that part of your brain will allow you to speak more to what that is.
What about for the collaborations, the adaptations, the things that have already been created that now you are tasked to reinvent or reinvigorate or repurpose?
Adaptations I love. I love an adaptation.
Why?
Part of it is because it is a comfort and a challenge for an audience if you do it right. They're going to come in because it's Little Women, because it's Peter Pan, because it's Pride and Prejudice. And then we're going to say, like, we're going to give you that, I promise. But if you do the adaptation right, you have to have a point of view. You have to have a reason to tell this story anew right now. And so every one of my adaptations has a very clear sense of why me, why this classic, and why this way, why adapted this way. And so then you get to do 2 things at once. You get to give the audience sort of an easy ticket purchase, like that will help theaters because people buy things they know. And you get something new. And so we're going to give you Pride and Prejudice, but we're going to pump up that, pump up the feminism. You're going to get your swoon, you're going to get your Mr. Darcy, but we're also going to give you a very vivacious Lizzie and perhaps a vivacious Jane. Like maybe we're going to go a little farther with her than you have before. Same with Little Women. We're going to talk about, it's not just like ladies in petticoats by the fire. This is crazy ass girls during a civil war fighting for their freedom, their family, their artistic ambition, each other. They are fully realized human beings. How full can we give them? So it just also feels like what theater does best, which is sort of a handshake across time when you're adapting something. Like I'm going to take Louisa May Alcott and be like, high five. Love you. We're going to bring you with us over here to this current moment in time. And how freaking cool. Love to have you. So I love it very much. And
When you get them, is it usually with or I guess it's a twofold question of like, do you go after the ones that you're like, this is something that I know I can adapt in this kind of way, only I can do it? Or is it or they come to you because they know at this point your breadth of work and you're like, I have to sit with this because I haven't thought about adapting this yet and I now need to find my way in.
But the 2 big adaptations were the latter, where it was somebody saying, hey, I know your work. Or the former, I don't know which one was it. The one of like, this feels like something that you should do and can do well, which is such a compliment to begin with. So the Peter Pan adaptation was that, where at first I was like, oh, no, not touching that one. And then they were like, but we want you to fix it. So yes, and it was quite fun. I'm super, super proud of that one. And Little Women was sort of similar, that there wasn't an adaptation that felt right for some of these theaters. And in fact, they thought I already had one. That's my favorite story about Little Women. It was like, can I read your Little Women adaptation? I was like, what adaptation? And they're like, oh, you don't have one? I was like, it is on brand. It does seem like I should. So I do understand why you would think that. And that led to this really cool partnership between 4 major regional theaters to adapt it together. And they all sort of get to call it a world premiere, and they all help me develop it and help each other produce it. It's really, really cool. So that one, came out of that space. And then I get to sort of talk not just about the characters in the novel, but really Louisa May Alcott herself and what a wild-hearted, incredible woman she was. And sort of contrary to what we might think of the person who wrote Little Women, like she was not very sweetsy and girly and sort of didn't want to write the book. She was like, a book about girls? Ugh, why? And makes me love her instantly, to be like, oh, I see you. I love that. So that was that adaptation. But then sometimes some of the other adaptations are just like, because I love it.
And then you're prompting that on your own, which is like, I see this and I want to make it mine. Or not
always,
and
sort of a combination of having an instinct about what the American theater needs and wants, what audience members are will buy. Not to keep mentioning the buying, but we're in such a tenuous moment right now with so many American theaters to try to align ways in which the theater, the audience, and the artist can actually hear and speak for and work with each other to support each other. So we want to give something that's meaningful to audiences. Audiences want to support more of this art form that they love. And the institutions are in, and the grantors are sort of in this interim space to help make the art, support the art. But we're all still struggling in so many ways. Yeah. So trying to align artistic instincts with the best versions of new and classic things that can be born at this time is important.
Yeah. What about the musical land of it all? Where, the coming to a piece that, again, is perhaps the adaptation, but now you're adding a whole new element to it. Or like, tell me more about this part of your creative craft.
Yeah. I mean, I never thought I would write musicals when I first started. And I love them so much because of the collaboration, because of how the handoff between song and scene work, and the conversations. Musicals are an even more structured art form than plays, because of how the form has evolved to. You need a song every so often. You need the song that does this before the song that does this. You have to calculate how many ensemble numbers versus duets versus solos. What are reprises? How do reprises function? And so I just love it. It feels like the ultimate puzzle, and like ultimate group project. So yeah, and that's a combination of adaptations, which are easy to make into musicals because we're very used to that. It's a movie, it's a book, you adapt it. The audience, again, knows what they get, but they get some songs with it. I am happy for those projects. I like those projects, but the original musicals are the real excitement. And those can range from just big, crazy ideas to people who've brought ideas to me. We'd love, you to write this book or to take a new pass on this book, which I love that too. And the interesting moment I'm in right now is I'm adapting a play of my own as a musical. So my play, I and You, Ari Afsar and I are adapting it as a musical. The McCarter Theater is premiering it this fall. It's so exciting because it feels very like a new musical, but it's also an adaptation of a play that is well enough known that people are like, oh yeah, I know that, which is still a delightful excitement for me as a writer to be like, you do? How, really? That's so cool.
Yep.
But to turn it into a musical has required such reinvestigation of a story that I sort of thought I was done with, love and very proud of, but it's sort of cracking it open again, which is really fun. So I think it's just such a cool art form. And I also love that you can sort of take musicals with you in a way that plays don't really work in the same way. Just the songs get in your brain and you can listen to them while you're working out or commuting. And it sort of sticks around in a really beautiful way that, you don't really like read scenes in the car.
Yeah. How do you find you're collaborating with the other folks in this goes? Do you come in with like a, hey, how do you work? This is how I work. This is how we can work together. Is it more like, let's trial by fire this and see how it goes? Do you like divvy up the whatever, divide and conquer, and then you come together and see how they function? Or do you like sit in your either metaphorical or literal rooms together, like, let's do this together?
I mean, the first draft is always sort of outline based. Let's sort of get the general sort of pass at where songs might go, what might be songs. And then it always sort of changes. Sometimes we're like, oh, we do not need a song there. That's actually better as a scene. Or like maybe the scene's within the song and we can kind of do both. A lot of it is sort of, I sort of lean on the idea of like, what do you want to write? Like, what's the thing? You're like, God, I can't wait to write that song. Or, oh, I can't wait to write that moment. Then like, do it. Go there first. Let the joy lead. And then that will sort of absorb and ricochet around the whole project if we lead with those things. So that's sort of what I always want to ask my collaborators, like what are you dying to write, and then do it. And then, we know how a play works and a musical works, and we'll put it together. We're going to have the exposition here, and like, I'll do that. And yeah, but it's different with different people. I have a process that sort of works until it doesn't work, which includes, all right, here's a scene where she wants this and she wants that. And so I'm going to write the kind of shitty monologue of what is behind this song, like the terrible, not artful, not subtle monologue where she says, here are the things that are on my mind. I'm scared of this. I'm scared you'll say this. I the fear of being rejected, but I also want you to say you love me, but I'm not sure if you feel it. And then the blah, blah, blah. And then hand that as like, this is what this moment needs. And as long as there is some of the information is just in the bridge, she needs to realize that actually she's waiting for herself to admit that she deserves love or whatever, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then that's a writable song. Like nothing I wrote will go into that song, most likely, maybe a word or maybe a phrase if I had one fanciful moment of decent writing. But mostly it's just, here's what needs to happen in this song. And sort of thinking of songs not as we're going to stop the story and sing about love a little bit. Like, no, it's of course the character forwarding, the plot forwarding, the emotional forwarding of this moment. Like something needs to change in that song or else it's just like, why are we singing? So knowing that means that we can kind of start accomplishing things and yes-anding each other as it goes.
Yeah. I love how you're fearless, it sounds like. I imagine there's moments where you're like, no, but you're fearless in being like, this is a shitty first moment, but I know that this is the energy of it so that we have something to work off of. It's just like, here's the vomit. This is a very rough version. We'll take what works and leave what doesn't, and we will find the thing that is off of this thing. But the fearlessness and like actually just like going and knowing what it is really wonderful and incredible.
Yeah.
And
Thanks for
I think many people, no, but it's true. I think many people struggle with that, myself included, at times where you're like, okay, well, it's not going to come out the way I want it. All right, well, you need to at least try the first time. If you have an idea of what the thing is, you can't work from nothing. You have to work from something. And if this is the something in this moment, then you will see what is and what isn't. And you can go from there and there's progress that can be made from it. So I think that's really cool that you're just like, here's the thing. Let's not use any of it, but actually we're using all of it, but none of it though. Thank you.
That's right. Like the whole, there's no bad idea. I mean, there are, but there aren't. Sometimes the bad idea is the step to like 3 steps away from like a really good idea that you wouldn't have gotten there if you hadn't been like, ooh, no, that's a terrible idea. But that makes me think of.
Well, it's the idea to execution part of it. Like the idea maybe is a bad idea, but if you execute this thing in a really interesting, brilliant way that's very specific and answers all these questions, then like it actually might become something that's actually not just bad. I would hope.
That's
maybe.
It.
I don't know.
That's totally it.
Yeah.
And so much of theater is that,
Oh, very much. A lot of it. That's a whole other conversation that I don't know if we want to go down that path. But I'm curious with that, knowing that you've been doing this for a hot second, how the industry has changed for, obviously with people also knowing your work more and there's like, not like you superseding it. But in some ways it's like you don't have to maybe put yourself in those rooms as aggressively because maybe people come to you a little bit more. But how have you found, in addition to the, theater landscape shifting, the needs of theaters perhaps changing in order to like actually put butts in seats in a very different kind of way, like how have you found that the industry or the profession as a playwright has shifted, and what have you been doing, I guess, to adapt or guide that for yourself in the process?
I mean, I think we're still in such a sea change post-pandemic and this new administration and its attacking of arts and gutting all sorts of things that we had counted on, even as tenuous as this career can be already. So I think there is, to me, it's all about collaboration and partnerships and really sort of talking to theater companies and theater leaders and really saying, what do you need? There's the stuff that I want to write that I can't wait to write. And I am very proud of those things. That doesn't always align with what a theater is like. I have to have a show that can sell to this audience, that can speak to this thing, that can complement these other things. And both of those are worthy of this art form. So yes, I'm going to write my absolutely bonkers, gritty, feminist AI play that like no one is asking for. And I'm so proud of it. And oh my God, it's one of my best plays. But that is not the thing that you're going to put on every season, in the Christmas slot. Not going to happen. Not that one. Both of them will get written, whatever I would write to serve that. And, but so kind of knowing I think that's part of what it is knowing that there are times when I get to do sort of one for me and one for the curious artist in me that is so desperate to push the form and to push myself. And then there's the one that knows, like, I know what you want. I got you.
Yeah.
I will give you this thing. It will be smart. It will be feminist. It will also be welcoming to a lot of audiences. It will be easy to sell. And it will be a thing that people will walk away feeling really glad that they came to the theater. Those two can exist absolutely together. They'll probably on different assignments and perhaps different theater companies, but I love this art form so much. And frankly, I'm damn good at it so that I can know which one are we doing, and the more you tell me about what you need, I can make the version that feels perhaps softer. I can still make it smart as hell, and I still make it funny and cool. But I know the assignment. I got it. Yeah. And it's good work to keep that theater going more, to make money for that theater and that community of artists. Love that job. Love it. And also, hell yeah, I'm going to write the weird shit.
I think it's great. But it's really cool that you know how to do that within your own brain of like, when I'm writing this project, it needs to fulfill these external things besides just the craft, and also within yourself to know that, like, just because you're doing that doesn't mean that you would diminish this other part of yourself that clearly has other things to be saying. When you are, say, writing a piece very specifically for a theater's needs, and then you have this incredibly goofy AI moment that I cannot wait to read, like, are you writing these simultaneously because it's fulfilling both in you, or do you compartmentalize a little bit more because you have to give your effort and energy?
I'm always writing more than 7 things. There's always a ton of things happening. Now, it depends on the moment. Like, if I'm in that 2 or 3 week push, then that's all I'm doing for that 2 or 3 weeks. But once we move into, okay, we've got the draft, now we're in a workshop, now we're doing that first read, or other things, there's like, I can be editing or going deeper into a draft. I sort of can't be writing plays at the same moment in their development at the same time. Like, I can't both be starting 2 new plays or both be in the sort of investigative, interrogative, like tear it all apart, put it back together sort of moment. I sort of have to do those one at a time. But I can have one starting, one interrogating, one editing, one post workshop being like, how do I, the fine tuning? I can do all of that at once, and sort of have to these days because of how fast things are moving at this particular moment with different stuff, which is a fabulous problem to have that I'm very grateful for that particular stress.
It's really cool and wild that your brain is able to balance all of these things simultaneously and get as deep as you do with all of them and into each person's head. But I think it's like, wow, you're brilliant.
Have you been using the same monologue for years? Are you gearing up to apply for BA, BFA, or MFA programs and need pieces for that process? Or maybe you just have no idea where to even start with monologue hunting? I get it, and that's why I offer monologue sourcing. This is a unique process where I find monologues chosen specifically for you. So many artists pick pieces based on external labels like type or for roles rather than finding material that represents who they truly are. So here's how it works. We'll meet virtually and you'll share all about who you are, your passions, values, beliefs, and everything in between. Don't worry, I will help guide you through this process. Then I'll get to work finding monologues that fit you like a glove. With years of experience sourcing pieces for hundreds of artists, I've seen the difference it makes to have a monologue that genuinely feels like you. So, if you want to feel empowered about the monologues you bring into rooms and use for auditions, I would love to help you find them. And because you're a listener of the Empowered Artist Collective podcast, I'm offering an exclusive rate. Head to empoweredartistcollective.com/podcast promo to register and claim the special offer. That's empoweredartistcollective.com/podcast promo. I cannot wait to help you find monologues you absolutely adore.
Now, though, you are beginning to insert yourself as a performer into your own work. And I know that you had kind of mentioned in the beginning, like that was arguably like why you had started writing, to like, let's find roles or whatever that are in existing that I would want to be in. And then maybe you took the path away from that for a hot second, but revisiting. Why has this now been the moment for you, and how has it been? And is that changing your writing? Is that changing like what is that?
Yeah. I mean, it sort of happened accidentally at first, of sort of subbing in for some actors in my own plays and workshops, and then clocking over the last couple of years, like, ooh, I mean, obviously, if you're in it, you're learning things as a writer that there's just way more efficient and apparent when you're saying the words yourself and in those roles. And it's not just for the role I was reading. That's the discovery. I was just being aware internally of all the other stories happening in the one story that I wrote. So it just started to function in a really helpful way and became another tool I can use to sort of get into the rewrites deeper, quicker, and faster. And then some of the plays that I'd done for myself, knowing that I wasn't going to really do the performance of them, but the development. And then this new one, it's called Musifier. It's a two-hander about Will and Anne Shakespeare, realizing that so much of why I wanted to write is because I wanted to hang out with William Shakespeare and be like, hey, so a couple questions. And that really, really changed the writing of it. And because it's a two-hander and I'm one of the actors, now I'm in half the damn play. And which really means you're in the whole play because there's nowhere else to go. So the effectiveness of being actor-writer was just profound on that one. So I'm sort of obsessed with this at this point. And not just the play, but this process. It works because I have someone I work with who is an awesome writer's assistant and sort of like little brother, bestie, who can monitor and help me when it's like actor Lauren versus writer Lauren notes and how to sort of capture things if I'm on stage so that writer Lauren can later go back and but also capturing, honestly, the lines I mess up and write something that's perhaps, or not write something, but say something that's perhaps better. And I'll be like, oh, write that down. Or the sort of improvisational stuff that is more apparent and effective when I'm writer actor. So there's a ton of discoveries. It feels like a whole new level that I'm hitting, which is really, really great. And I mean, again, as you said, I started there. So it's no surprise that this is sort of coming back at this moment to be a profound part of writing a different kind of play. The super emotional ones do feel like this is going to serve me well to do this way.
Amazing. How have you found that you can separate these identities now while you're in it? Like, you know, it is different when you're like, okay, I'm an actor in this thing and now I'm feeling all this stuff that maybe feels really cathartic for me to be experiencing, but it's not actually serving the larger part of the play. Or how are you sussing that out?
I mean, for me, it's a larger, like the actor knows things that the writer doesn't. And so if there's an emotional thing that's happening as an actor, that's a great note for the writer that maybe that turn into this next phase of the play needs to happen a little later. Like we gotta, the actor isn't wrong to have this feeling there. And if the actor is wrong, it's just you need to keep all that emotion, but zip it up, fight against it. Don't give it away yet. Zip it up, which is way better for drama anyway. It's not about the crying. It's about the holding back. Yes. So like how they can both teach each other. So writer Lauren is like, I know you want to feel that right here. You're going to need to feel it in a page and a half. So zip it up, keep it. But then actor Lauren can be like, all right, writer Lauren, I need like 3 more lines to get to this moment if you want this feeling. And so playing with that's again why the rewriting is so effective, because the internal stuff. But it requires a lot of trust. The director that I'm working with, Evernachikin, is a longtime friend and sort of knows me really, really well. So he can be like, I'm going to talk to writer Lauren for a second. I'm going to talk to actor Lauren for a second. But the team is really great. My writer's assistant, Nick, and co-star Casey, we all sort of have this trust that's built in to sort of support each other, knowing that this is a bit strange, this form. I mean, it's not unheard of course. Lots of people are in their own work, but it's been really great. And I kind of can't wait to make more things with this model.
I love it. Are you somebody who wants to stick exclusively to theater and the way theater can do things? Or what are your thoughts about the on-camera worlds of it all and your journey with that?
I haven't done a ton of it. I got into doing animation screenplays. So I had done a couple of those, which have been really fun. I'm honestly just so busy in the theater. It's sometimes hard to make room. But I have some of my very best friends are incredible, super powerful, super successful Hollywood folks now. So if they ever called, I would absolutely drop things to work with them. But I'm sort of not necessarily running to that. Younger, I was obsessed. I was like, why? I haven't done TV. I have to do TV. I'm a terrible playwright if I don't do TV. And then a friend of mine was like, I would say like, don't have that pressure or that definition, because you don't need it. Like the theater is where I always want to be in a rehearsal room, and theater you can make so quickly. So I can make 10 plays in the time it takes to make one movie. And to have so many ideas in so many phases, it works in the theater in that way. So I'm grateful for it.
I love that. What about your podcast? Why did you start it? And how does it feel to have it as this supplementary arm to the process? And has it taught you anything while you're doing it?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. It's called How to Playwright. It's just sort of my like rambly, I don't really have a plan of what I'm going to talk about. I mean, I have a theme, but sort of going through the big stuff. And it was a compliment because I really enjoyed during the pandemic, opening up, it was like Facebook Live, I think was the forum, but, where I just started saying like, all right, let's talk about plays and we can get together live, and it'll obviously record it. And it just became this wonderful community that felt so exciting and vivacious. And I wanted to bring that back in some way. I don't know why it felt right to do. Sometimes I just do things and it's like,
good. You don't wait for the permission.
No,
why?
You're
making it happen.
Too short. So I just love it. And I really also sort of feel very, I love the mechanisms of it and the sort of science of an art form, because it seems like they shouldn't talk to each other, but they do. And yeah, I love it. I'm going to eventually start talking about each particular play, like some of the more popular plays and sort of how those were made and why I think they work. Because I know that's what people sort of want to know. It's like, but how does this one, why is this one this way? And so I'll go into that, but
yeah. If I had more time, that is what I would be doing. I'd be like, all right, tell me about this though, in this moment and how and why. Yeah. But like, no one needs me to be nerding out and be like, Jennifer, we need to know more just generally here. I'll be like, okay, thank you so much. Come back to another point.
This is the vibe. 4.
Yeah, literally that though. Why is this a dash and not a semicolon?
Yes. Oh, you're my person. Yes.
Yes, though, but
there is a reason. There is a reason.
Oh, truly? That's a I am the punctuation I'm like, this isn't an arbitrary moment. This was a choice. No. Honor it. Thank you.
Honor it. Thank you. Perfect. Well, I mean, I'm just grateful for this community and feeling like the more we can talk about how we do things, why we do things, it sort of takes down this forced either separation or competition that is oddly built into this form, even though we cannot compete because actors are so different from each other and plays are so different from each other. They cannot actually be compared. Yep. So finding the true heart through this tenuous time in the American theater or in Broadway's sort of figuring out how the hell to make money, to sustain new work, to support, wild new ideas. The only way we get through that is by being big fans of each other and coming out for each other and saying, I will support this production, this artist, so I'm grateful for folks like you who see that and the connective threads of everybody being the strongest thing we have and sort of the reason why we do this at all. Like we don't do it alone. We can't do it alone. So so that's all. Thank you.
No, thank you. I mean, it's again, like it's why like you're in this space. I mean, obviously like, there's connective tissue around like who you've worked with and who I know who knows you and whatever, like all of that. Like there's like, okay, well, clearly if these people are in the mix, then like, yes, this is a person that I feel connected towards. But
shout out to
you're
Alexi.
mentioning literally shout out to Alexi. If you haven't listened to Alexi's episode, you should. We live.
Gotcha.
And you're mentioning something though that like truly is of my ethos. Like I do not believe that somebody else's quote unquote success like takes away from me. Again, like I've said this on so many different episodes of just like, if a person in my sphere has some sort of success, which again is like a nebulous word, what does that even mean? But if they do, then this means that the people in the world are recognizing people that I love and value their work and ethic and like, that's amazing. It's bringing the people that I love to like a step closer to the work that's being done that I like. Everybody's winning. And it's also like there's enough space. Like there is enough. We're just told that there isn't. Why not like show people who people are and the work that they do and showcase that? Like it seems so antithetical to like what we're actually doing. So I'm just echoing and signing and stamping right next to what you just said. It's just, right. So thank you like so much for being in this space and for the breadth of work that you have introduced into the American theatrical canon that is actually changing the landscape and making people think and discover and explore and question and rethink. And it's just, your work is really awesome. And I cannot wait to read this AI piece and see you performing on a stage within your own work and all of it. It's just really exciting. And so thank you for being in this playwriting mini-series.
Yes, can't wait to hear the rest of the episodes. And thank you for all you do.
Yes. If anybody wants to reach out, hire you, commission you, read your stuff, where within your boundaries is the best way for people to do so?
Ooh, I'm sort of an Instagram girly, so you can always sort of find me there to actually chat about things. But, you know, always down to hang out at the drama bookshop. And
love.
My plays are always in stock there. I don't know. Podcast, you can just hear me ramble, but Instagram, we can interact. And buy a ticket to not just my plays, any play, but certainly if you see mine out there, give it a shot. Sometimes I'm involved in those productions, sometimes I'm not, but I'm always supporting from afar.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. What a dream.
That's it for today's episode. I hope you walk away with some fresh insights, feel inspired, and a little more empowered to take the next step on your artistic journey. Remember, whether it's a small shift or a big breakthrough, every step forward counts. You've got this, and we're here cheering you on every step of the way. If you found today's episode helpful, don't forget to hit subscribe so you'll never miss out on the discussions we have each week. And if something today really resonated with you, please leave us a review. It truly is one of the best ways to help other artists find our podcast and join in on the conversations. Plus, we feel the love too when you do. And don't keep all this goodness to yourself. Share this episode with your people or post about it on social media. Be sure to tag at Empowered Artist Collective and at @JenniferApple_ so we can see what's landing for you and keep the conversation going. As always, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for being a part of this incredible community. Keep creating, keep thriving, stay empowered. I'm Jennifer Apple. Until next time.